And then you added
Same.
me underneath one of my analyses of the Andrew Wilson Candace Owens debate with some like thoughts, and it triggered me. And I thought, why not boot up the stream with Owlish?
Sure. What triggered you about what I said?
Well, I just had a take which I think was the objectively correct take, which is Andrew Wilson won on substance, but he did really, really bad on substance because he wasn't like fact prepared, and he did
Wait, how
even
did he
worse on
lose on
optics.
substance?
He won on
Wait, how did he lose
substance.
on You said okay. All right, that must have been just a misspeak. So, I mean, I don't see why his evidence was any better than the evidence that Candace brought, because essentially he dismissed her evidence in favor of his own, which is equally as circumstantial.
I mean, I don't know what you say when you say it's equally circumstantial. I think a lot of the
He
evidence was
was
circumstantial, but not all of it. For example, I think that the confession was not circumstantial evidence.
so the confession, which I believe was given by Discord to say it came from that Discord account, doesn't necessarily mean it was his account, right?
I'm not saying that it necessarily came from his account, by which I mean it is ontologically necessary, but I just do think that I'm wondering what you mean by they're just as circumstantial. What does that mean?
He was talking about his shoes, brother.
What do you mean when you say they're just as circumstantial? What the fuck does that mean?
I just explained it to you. I said that Andrew Wilson, he used his evidence was that it was his shoes that definitely made him identifiable in those 2 megapixel or those 2 fucking pixel photos that were definitely of him. Well, he was wearing the same shoes according to his
Owlish,
ex-lover.
are you hearing me?
What?
I asked you a
I
question. You said the evidence was just as circumstantial. They were both just as
Yes.
circumstantial. I need to know
Yes.
what does that mean that they're just as
I,
circumstantial?
I, I just explained it to you because they both basically came to the plate with circumstantial evidence, and no circumstantial evidence was better than the other, but Andrew Wilson was basically dismissing her evidence in favor of his own, which was equally as bad, with
Yeah,
equally as with more
I
terrible
basically
arguments.
think that you're crazy if you thought that she had better evidence for her claim.
Yes,
So,
she actually did have better evidence for her claim. First of all, if you let's get this out of the way first. If you think that you take this trial seriously, because the Trump administration definitely took an interest in it, which is not something that you should take seriously on the outset. Like, them having eyes on this case already makes it suspicious. And I think I
why?
replied to you.
Why would that be suspicious? A major
It,
political figure
it,
was
it, it is
assassinated.
he wasn't a major political figure.
The
I don't think
fuck he
any more major
wasn't.
than.
What are you talking about?
So any of there have been multiple other political figures who have been unfortunately killed, and they were given less attention than this.
I agree.
Um,
He was more popular than many of those figures, the ones that are like the politicians from, I think you're referring to the ones from Minnesota. And
yeah,
also, it's the Trump administration, and so they have a bias for conservatives and Republicans. What's weird about spending federal resources investigating this crime, especially when the suspect was at large? It would be weird if they didn't get involved.
no, that is absolutely weird. For a murder trial. What?
What's more weird, for the feds to be involved or not be involved in the involvement in this case, putting their resources
No,
to
it
help
should be
out
the
state local officials?
why would they grant resources when he's not a federal employee?
Because the federal government has an interest in political assassinations, especially ones where there's a suspect at large and where the FBI can lend resources, even if it's within the state. They will do this sometimes. The state was leading the charge when it comes to like the prosecution, but federal involvement is not weird in this situation. It'd be weird if they were absent.
I well, I think it's weird that Trump actually claimed to care about this, and then instead of going to Arizona for the
Okay, so I'll
return
just
or for
ask you directly then. Do you think the federal government should have gotten involved in any capacity in the investigation into Charlie Kirk's murder?
no, I think they should have left it to the state. Honestly, it's not a federal he didn't commit a federal crime. I don't think that they should use federal resources on him for a crime that was committed in a state under state, and they're using state statutes to prosecute him, are they not? Like, he's not being charged with a federal crime, is he?
I actually don't know if there's a parallel federal case against him, but whether there is or not.
Why would there be?
Well, for some killings, there are specific like terrorism statutes that apply to certain killings done for particular reasons. For example, terrorism related reasons where there's a federal jurisdictional hook.
They are definitely not going to be able to charge him with terroristic with terrorism. That's not something.
Yeah, I'm not so sure about that, but like that's not. I'm not saying the federal government should have prosecuted him with a crime, but what's wrong with the federal government being involved in like investigating? Why would you be against that?
Why would I be against the federal government showing bias to one specific case?
A really, really major case for one specific political person. Yes. What's wrong with that?
So if any political commentator is shot and killed,
Yes, I would hope the feds get involved and lend their resources, the FBI, to help out if political people are being assassinated. I think there's a clear federal interest
I don't think that he was I really don't think that he was like ostensibly a political person. He was a
Charlie Kirk was not a political person. You don't think that Charlie Kirk was a political person?
No, so like he was a political commentator, but I wouldn't say that he was a politician, right?
I don't know that I would call him a politician, but he was. This was a political. Was Martin Luther King a political figure?
Yeah, he was, but
was he a politician?
No, but Martin Luther King had more. I feel like he had more going. He had more political capital than Charlie Kirk did, because I mean, his thing was debating. It wasn't like he was out doing. Did he normally go out and do speeches and stuff?
Yeah.
And start coalition. I mean, besides Turning Point USA, which
besides the largest thing, yeah, maybe not.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Say,
it's a huge organization.
I mean, he started an organization, but like. People argue that Martin Luther King was actually killed by the FBI, right? So, unless we want to go with that.
Okay, but we're just talking about, let's assume not a particular theory. You don't even think that you think it's suspicious that the federal government's involved. You're like saying, I don't think it's suspicious. You don't want Trump involved here.
I don't think it's suspicious necessarily. Well, no, I don't think that Trump should be involved at all. I think that Trump himself should stay out of it, and if they want to donate federal resources to it, then
they should be involved, right? The FBI should be involved.
I don't think they should. I think they should let the state take care of it. Why are the feds involved at all?
Because they can help. Because they have like fingerprint databases.
How
they have fingerprint databases. They have like technical know-how. They want this case to be successful.
So does the state.
Yeah, they both work together.
Local office
What's weird about that? They want help and resources. They don't want to fuck it up because it's a really important case.
You want Kash Patel, the dude who said...
No, not him specifically.
I'll see you in Valhalla?
No, the fucking actual career people. I want them to be involved.
What are the actual career people? Because
the FBI agents and the scientists and the criminologists and shit.
Sure. Let's talk about the evidentiary hearing and the fact that they used the wrong DNA analysis to actually prove that the DNA that was submitted actually belonged to Tyler Robinson and to not one of his family members.
Yeah, so
right, because that was something.
I don't want to move off the point until you have some agreement that like whether the feds are involved here doesn't raise or lower the amount of credence in there being a patsy or some corruption, right? Just the mere fact of federal involvement doesn't affect anything, right? It's not evidence in favor of Candace.
No, it doesn't affect anything broadly, no, but you should take it with a grain of salt. The fact that the government immediately hopped on a murder case in a state, right? Like you don't normally see that
for important murder cases. They'll get involved. Okay, so I want to hear you say the feds should never be involved in school shootings.
Okay, not the same thing. That is terrorism.
Oh, that's terrorism. But killing Charlie Kirk for arguably political reasons, I would say likely political reasons, isn't terrorism.
No, it's not terrorism. And we already know it's not terrorism because what's his name? The guy that shot the healthcare CEO was charged with terrorism, and they immediately dropped that against him. Mangione,
And
Luigi
that's how you
Mangione.
know it's not terrorism, because of a particular
Yes,
charge.
he did the same thing. He did the same thing, very intentionally shot somebody, and he actually admitted to doing it. They charged him with terrorism, and they dropped the charge against him because they weren't able to prove it,
Yeah,
or terrorism
charge
didn't apply.
just because you would drop a terrorism charge doesn't mean it's not what we would colloquially understand as terrorism, which I take to
No,
just be. And were all these school
you're a
shooters,
lawyer, right?
were all these school shooters charged with terrorism? So if I find a school
I
shooter where there was federal involvement but no terrorism charge, would you say that therefore the federal government should have been involved in the school shooting?
You're the one who brought up terrorism. What do you mean?
I'm just like, the federal government should be there for important investigations to help out the states. There's nothing wrong with that. Even if it's a state crime, they can just lend their resources to help. It's called like being part of a society that like works with each other.
How have they contributed?
So the FBI has been involved in terms of running the investigation and trying to track him down, right? Interfacing with the Utah police to help them. Who is this guy? Joe Kent mentioned that there was FBI investigation going on in terms of getting more evidence. So they
Wouldn't
had
that be
an
the local
investigatory
FBI
role
office?
in
That would be
conjunction
the
with their
local
federal
FBI
friends.
office.
Together, they work together.
Yeah, the local. Why can't the local FBI office take care of it? Like, why do they need federal involvement in this? Because
Because it helps.
again,
Is this really
okay,
evidence for
sure,
you? Do you think it's suspicious?
It helps. Sure.
Do you think it's suspicious that
No,
the
I
federal
don't
government?
necessarily. I don't necessarily find it like overwhelmingly suspicious. I just think that it's weird that the Trump administration would pretend to care about a political commentator,
That really helped them
right?
out and was responsible for swinging some youth and getting people activated for Republicans? You think that they wouldn't care about that?
It's not that I don't think they would care about it, and I know that Trump claims that they were friends, but I think that a lot of the things, especially the lies that have like come out about it, like kind of indicate that they're not trustworthy, right? Because one of the things I wanted to bring up was we were discussing in on the Twitter post the autopsy report, right?
Okay, we can get into a specific piece of evidence, but I just want to give you my overall take, and then you can give me your overall take. Is that okay? And then we can get into whatever specific evidence you want, okay?
Yeah,
We can do
sure,
autopsy,
go for
shoe
it.
thing, whatever. So my overall take is the overwhelming amount of evidence that exists, right? And some of which Andrew was able to point at effectively, like confessions, right? All else equal, confessions increase our credence that someone did the thing, right? All else equal. Why? Because we think statements against interest wouldn't be said if they're not true. We have a bias now, tend not to, right? Not that it's impossible. Okay, so a confession, all else equal, raises our credence level. Things like a fingerprints and ownership of a gun that's related to his family, right? That raises our credence that, well, if you had access to the gun, all else equal, we think that it increases the likelihood that the gun was used by the person who had access to it or who owned it. We also think that things like parental non-objection when they are the closest to the individual who's accused, that also speaks to, I think, most people's intuitions about the likelihood that a given crime occurred. Things like camera footage, which tends to look at someone similar to the person who's being accused. At a bare minimum, you're going to have to grant that. And that tracks movements consistent with, I believe, consistent with his cell phone location shit. I think he might have turned off his cell phone at a given point and then returned it on. But at least it fits within that pattern. That tends to increase our credence. Well, he's there, right? So all of this stuff.
Did they have that data?
I think that, as I'm remembering, I'm not recalling if he turned off his phone at a certain point, but there was some window of time in which he was traveling to the campus, and I think that there were some associated records of pings or something, or Google data. As I sit here now, I'm not recalling it, but just in general, the kind of evidence. This is my overall point. Let's do your overall point. That Andrew points to tends to increase our credence in the conclusion that he's guilty. The kind of stuff that Candace was vaguely gesturing at is totally equivocal and doesn't tend to increase our credence because other plausible solutions, I think, are either just as likely or more likely, or it's consistent with the official story. And so that's why I think that she lost on substance, clearly. I'll let you make your overall point, then we can get into specific evidence.
Yeah, so you understand that her specific argument was that what the argument that she was trying to make is granting that it should be looked into that there was a patsy, not necessarily that he
agrees with that, though. Who disagrees
what?
that it should be looked into? No one disagrees with that.
No, that's what Andrew Wilson did disagree about. He disagreed that it should be looked into.
No,
he thinks
didn't.
that she's crazy for suggesting that. Yes.
He literally said it should be looked into. He said everything should be looked into. He says that in the debate.
Okay, so unless did he concede on that point? Because from
that's
what
not
I
a
watched,
concession. Everyone agrees with that.
It should be looked into that there was a patsy?
Yes, that these theories should be looked into. And probably were.
No,
They were.
That was the entire disagreement of
no.
the debate was the fact that Andrew Wilson was arguing against why it should be not looked into, right?
No, that wasn't the debate. They entered the debate, and I think PBD asked them what percentage you would put of guilt that he was involved in the shooting, or sorry, I should say that he did the shooting, that he killed Charlie Kirk. And she said 0%. He said 75%. I thought that was an error on his part to make it so low. But she put 0%. So they were arguing about the fact of the matter. They weren't arguing about whether you should look into it. And Andrew was saying, nope, don't look into it. Was that your impression?
That was part of the argument. That was
it
the
wasn't.
Entire first part of the debate. Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't.
But regardless, I think that her stance, and this is the point I made on Twitter, I think that her stance, being that has a lot of credibility behind it because of the evidence that she presented. She presented much stronger evidence than Andrew Wilson did.
Not true. Listen, this is what I'll grant you, right? Andrew did a horrible job. He didn't have a good command of the facts. He was nervous. He made many mistakes. And on optics, he looked awful. And on optics, I think she's overrated in optics. I thought she looked really bad in the middle and was going on these like barely coherent rants for like 10 minutes. And I think that she looked insane. But overall, she was more poised and more calm. Her intros and conclusions weren't like these meandering, weird, bizarre, twisted things. And so she comes away looking better. I would grant that. But what was the better evidence?
So the better evidence that she presented was that the DNA evidence was deprecated and had 5 different fingerprints or 5 different pieces of DNA that were found, which kind of lines up with the evidentiary hearing, which states that the DNA was degraded to the point where you couldn't actually tell individually who the DNA belonged to. You could tell maybe a familial line, but it wasn't necessarily that. And then there was, I think Lance was brought up.
Can we pause there first? So let's pause there on the points regarding the fingerprint shit. As Andrew explained there, and again, I think Andrew did a really horrible job. I want to be clear. I gave him a D on substance and a D- on presentation. And I gave Candace an F- on substance and a C on presentation.
Really? So you would give her an F- on substance?
Yes, totally. And I'm about to show you why. F-. If I could go lower, I would. F-, yes. Because look at the fingerprint shit. So the fingerprint is degraded. Therefore, what? And Andrew successfully pointed to that. There's no inference from that. Unlike, okay, well, generally, confessions raise our priors that the person who confessed is guilty, right? What is the thing for the fingerprint thing? That's like, makes no sense.
Because the fingerprints, there were 5 different fingerprints found on the gun.
And therefore, what?
And therefore, you can't prove that he was the last person to touch it, right?
No, not by itself. It's the totality of circumstances, but that doesn't raise the probability of patsy. It's consistent with both, right? It's consistent with the fact that he did shoot, and it's consistent with the fact that he did not shoot. It doesn't raise your credence in patsy.
Yes, it absolutely does.
How?
Because it could. Because wasn't Lance's fingerprints found on it?
No.
And DNA was found on it?
No. That's what she.
Whose DNA was found on it?
That's what she admitted she was wrong about it. That's Candace
Whose DNA
admitted.
was found on it? It could have been. Well, I know that his grandfather's
Let's deal with what
DNA,
Candace argued, right? So let's deal with the fingerprints, right? Not DNA, right? Fingerprints different than DNA. Yes.
Well, they said both.
Okay, but let's deal with fingerprints first. That's what you brought up, right?
It was both. Both things were mentioned.
Okay, but you first brought up fingerprints, right? So let's talk about fingerprints first, right?
Why would we not talk about the thing that they brought up? They brought up in the same sentence DNA and fingerprints.
Okay, but let's do it one at a time, right?
Okay, sure.
So the fact that there's a degraded fingerprint or whatever, and that his was the most degraded, what does that show?
Yes. It shows that other people probably touched it after him.
Why? Based on what?
Degraded his fingerprint.
Where do you get that? That because his fingerprint's degraded, other people touched it earlier.
It would probably be better if no other fingerprints were found on it, right? That would kind of increase.
That's not the question, right? Why does this increase?
I know that's not the question, but what I'm stating is that the fact that there were 5 other fingerprints found on it, then I'm sorry, it would be 4 other because there were 5 sets found on it, I guess. That there were 4 other sets of fingerprints found on it, and his was the most degraded. That necessarily implies that he was not the last one to touch it, right?
Wait, no, but whether it is true or not that his was the most degraded, and because it's the most degraded, it wasn't the last one to touch it. That's consistent with him being or not being a patsy. Those are both to me, it just doesn't raise the credence level. There could be other reasons that it was degraded, and you need to provide a rational inference. That is to say, if it's degraded, right? It makes it less likely that he was the last one.
Degraded.
Based on what? What's the step between least degraded and last one to touch it?
Because it would be least degraded because his fingerprint would literally be on the trigger since he was the last one to pull it.
Yeah, so make that connection. What's the evidence for that? Like, what is the kind of evidence that have you run some kind of scientific or like, are you aware of scientific evidence that would tend to show that?
Okay, so like let's use logic here. If he was the last person to touch the gun,
I don't know that
because he was the one on the roof shooting it, then you would assume that his fingerprints would be more prominent along the gun.
Yeah, why?
Was he wearing gloves?
I don't fucking know. Do you?
No, he wasn't wearing gloves. I don't think he was wearing gloves. And if he was wearing gloves, or if he wasn't wearing gloves, then why did he not wipe the gun?
Yeah. I'm just not like, maybe he wiped the gun.
He left the gun. He left the gun in the forest.
It was in the middle of the forest, right?
So
yeah, so it was in the middle of the forest. Maybe because it was in the middle of the forest. Like, I'm not a fucking scientist, and I want some fucking evidence and some inference.
Then why are you making this?
No, I'm saying so there's no there. She's not providing an inference, a jump from, well, more degraded, therefore last one to touch it is someone else, and it's therefore
yes, that would
isn't being provided.
Indicate that his fingerprints would be the most prominent on the gun.
Unless there was some other reason why it was being degraded, the fingerprint.
There would be multiple fingerprints on the gun because he was the last one to touch it. He was the last one to use it. And wouldn't his fingerprints also be on the other bullets inside of the gun?
Yeah. So again, these are all just questions. You're not providing the inference that is
none of this evidence was brought up at the evidentiary hearing. So I'm assuming that
you need to provide an inference for why it is that it follows that given that it was degraded, then something. That's what Andrew was pointing out, and he did so successfully.
Yes, it is degraded because
not why it's degraded, but what is the implication?
If they were the most prominent.
No.
The most prominent, they would be the most prominent. That's why I'm saying that's the argument, that they would be more prominent considering he was the last person to use the gun, allegedly.
Okay. Look at what I do with the confession, right? Because you're going to agree with it. Do you agree that all else equal, someone who confesses is more likely to have committed the crime?
Did the guy who admitted to committing the crime? I don't remember his name, but the guy who first admitted to doing the crime. Do you think he did the crime because he admitted?
Listen to my question. Listen to my question. Do you believe that all else equal, if a person confesses, that raises our likelihood that that person is guilty?
Did
You're asking me a question. You're asking a
Did
question.
anybody confirm? Did anybody confirm? Yes, but did anybody confirm that the alleged confessions actually came from Tyler Robinson?
So I want to just get you to answer the question, and then we can talk about whether he
I
in
said
fact
yes. I
confessed.
answered yes.
Okay. Sorry. So that's
No,
the
he
kind
did
of
not
thing.
confess. No, he did
No,
not confess.
Okay. We can deal with the truth or falsity of his confession, okay, and whether he did or not confess, okay. But that's the kind of thing where every normal person will agree, all else equal, confession raises probability of guilt. It doesn't.
Yes.
It's
Yeah,
not
sure,
intuitive
sure.
to me that all else equal, degraded fingerprint means something, right? It's not. That's not intuitive to me the way it is intuitive to me that confession raises guilt propensity. And so what we're looking for is an inference.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Physical evidence is more. Are you arguing that physical evidence is not more substantive than
No, listen to what I
somebody
said.
admitting something? Do you
Listen to what
understand
I
that somebody
said.
could admit something under duress?
I do, yes, but all else equal, we agree that in general it increases the likelihood of guilt. What I'm looking for
It
isn't.
increases the like.
I'm
Yeah,
not comparing.
but
I'm not comparing physical versus confessions. What I'm saying is, it's not intuitive to me that degraded fingerprint. I didn't say all physical evidence. I didn't say everything. I said it's not intuitive to me that degraded fingerprint increases chance of like something, right? That's not intuitive to me. The way that confession increased guilt probability is intuitive.
No, it absolutely is intuitive. Physical evidence is used to prove that the person was at the scene, regardless
you
of
can
what,
ask me questions because this is going nowhere, Owlish. You can ask me questions. What are your questions?
What do you mean? What are my questions? Do you understand that he could have made, first of all, it wasn't ever proven that those confessions actually came from him, right? I mean, you have like
proven to a reasonable certainty. Yes, I think it was.
Did he say that they were from him?
Did
anybody else in his life? Was there testimony indicating?
Yes.
Tyler Robinson.
Yeah, Lance Twiggs.
Okay, so Lance Twiggs said that?
Yeah.
Okay, and Lance Twiggs
that
Tyler
increases
Robinson
our credence.
Now?
No, Lance Twiggs said Tyler Robinson said to me X. He did it multiple times through text and then also orally, and then he cried. So there is testimony, right?
No, that's not testimony.
Of course it is.
What makes him a reliable witness?
Okay, you can get to like the weight of the evidence, right? But it
That's
is
exactly what
there
we're
is
arguing,
evidence.
Is the weight of the evidence.
Okay, but there is evidence he confessed, right? He said that if someone said that he confessed to me.
No, there's not evidence that he confessed.
Wait, how is that not evidence?
Confession was made. There was evidence that a confession was made, not that he made the confession.
So
it's two very distinct things.
So just to be clear, there is evidence that he confessed, right? And at least because you're saying that
there is
yes,
not
yes, there
evidence
is. So
that
let's
he
talk about it.
confessed.
So let's talk about that, right? Put aside the texts for a second, all right, or the Discord messages. Put aside that for a second. If someone says, "Hey, Tyler confessed to me that he killed Charlie," is that evidence that Lance confessed? Or sorry, that Tyler confessed?
No.
So what would constitute evidence of
a claim was made?
What would constitute evidence that Tyler confessed? If not that.
Because
what would constitute evidence of a confession if not even that would constitute evidence of a confession?
If it came out of Tyler Robinson's mouth, right?
So Tyler Robinson would have to lie on the stand? He would have to lie on the stand?
What?
Tyler Robinson would have
to lie on the stand.
For you to say it's evidence, it would have to be Tyler Robinson lying on the stand directly?
No, I said confessing. What do you mean lying on the stand?
Evidence of a confession can come in multiple forms, right? Evidence of a confession. Correct?
I don't necessarily know what that. No,
What
I'm not going to make a claim because I don't know the the law on that. Whether what substantiates as
so you get
evidence.
So a witness.
I mean, as a confession.
All right, you're a police officer.
What is the law?
You're a police officer. Imagine you're a police officer. Okay. Someone comes up to you and says, "Someone just ran into my store. He just shot a bunch of people. He admitted it to me that he did it, and he hates humanity." Is that evidence that he confessed? That the shooter confessed? That's some evidence, right?
Sure, it's
Yeah.
evidence from a witness that may or may not be lying, but you don't prosecute somebody based on
Okay, but it's
evidence
some
that
evidence.
somebody else
It
gives you.
raises the likelihood that he confessed, right? The fact that someone is
But
willing to
it
testify to that.
also, I think that there's also evidence that indicates that Lance Twiggs was at the scene, does it not?
That's not responsive to what I'm talking about now. We can go to next time or later. Sorry, right
What do you
after
mean
this if you
next
want.
time?
Later, right after this, we can talk about that, whether he's on the scene or not. That's
Right,
tangential.
right. But I mean, like, I don't know why you're putting, I don't know why you're putting all this emphasis on like whether or not it's a confession, because the confession here would mean that the case is over, would it not? I mean, like, what
No,
are
he
you
could
trying
argue that
to,
it's like a
what
falsely obtained
point?
confession, or that he lied, or that it was
Yeah, so
coerced.
so what's the point of you arguing this?
No, because I think you're epistemically cooked. You're like suggesting that even if a person were to say that he confessed to me, you wouldn't use that to raise your likelihood that he actually confessed. That like direct testimony. I understand it was hearsay, guys. I understand it was a video, but he would presumably argue the same thing in court, and he would be held to it. But in that video, right, that's some evidence. Lance Twiggs saying so that would raise our probability that it's true. Correct?
No, it doesn't raise the probability that it's true. It raises the
It doesn't
it
affect your
raises the
priors.
evidence. It provides evidence, but it doesn't mean that it's more true.
Yeah. Okay. So if
Aren't you a lawyer? Wouldn't you know this?
if a woman comes into you and tells you, listen,
It comes
he
into me. What?
comes into your office, okay? Comes into your office as a police officer. We're going with that. It says, my husband slapped me. Is that evidence that the husband slapped her?
No. That's a testimony. That's testimony that she would. That's what?
Okay. I'm going to
Is this
stop
what you
asking
learned? Is this
questions.
okay?
You can ask me
No,
questions.
I'm gonna ask you. No, I'm gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm gonna ask you a question. What did you learn in law school for this?
For what?
What constitutes as evidence? Obviously.
Yeah. So any kind of like object or testimony, right? Testimonial evidence that raises or lowers, a fact of consequence in the matter, right? It's more formal in the context of like trials where you have to introduce something into evidence and submit it to the court, right? But evidence
Yes,
are
that's exactly. You have to submit evidence into the court, so necessarily.
but there's the colloquial understanding of evidence too, which is like facts and circumstances that would cause a person to, increase or lower the prior regarding a fact of consequence.
So I would assume that if somebody goes to a cop or walks up to somebody and says that so and so said XYZ, I wouldn't consider that evidence.
Okay,
I
you're
would
crazy.
consider that okay, is that your response? That
Yes,
I'm
it's my
crazy?
response. Yes.
Why am I crazy for thinking that it's testimony rather than evidence?
It's testimonial evidence. It's a type of
It's
evidence.
it's just it's what? Testimonial. Okay. I mean, that's fine. If we're going to call it testimonial evidence, sure, but like you understand that it doesn't raise
Yes, it
the
does.
probability that it's true
Sure,
or
it
not.
does. Yes, it does.
How does having a testimony of something mean that it's more true than me just walking up to you and lying?
Because we tend to think that people for whom we have no reason to suspect that they are manipulating us or whatever, right? Unless there's some evidence, there's a thing again, that the person has a reputation for untruthfulness, which might undermine that prior, or there's a specific contradiction, or for whatever reason is unreliable. In general, human beings will credit the observations as recounted by other human beings, right? For
They're
example, do you
absolutely, they're
doubt that?
absolutely.
Okay, so now I'm going to make you bite the most insane bullet. The people who testified at the trial of Eichmann that the Holocaust happened, was that evidence?
They were under oath. That's
Oh
completely
my
different.
god. Yeah, so you could be subject to the penalty of
You just
perjury.
said that there was different evidence. You just said that there was a different standard for evidence when it came to trial rather
No, a
than
different definition of evidence It's more technical.
Right.
If
So like somebody being
for
under oath would obviously have to tell the truth rather than and there was absolutely could have been some reason for Lance Twiggs to lie, right? Because they were in a relationship, so it could have been something sour. Their relationship could have gone south at some point,
yeah,
and
this is
he
the
was just
Candace
being
Owens
malicious.
style of argumentation. Well, it could, it could, it
But
could,
why,
it could, it could.
well, yes, because if you recall, Andrew Wilson's argument was it it could have been him because he was wearing the same shoes. Do you
Okay, what
understand
do you
that
think
that's not
happened? I
a
mean,
good argument?
so what's not a good argument?
Do you understand that it's not a good argument to say that somebody wearing very, very generic shoes
It's one
on a
fact that
college
raises
campus?
it's one fact that raises our inference. So I'll give you an example. If there's like 20 people wearing the same style shirt, same color shirt, and 20 people wearing, like, let's say a different colored, a red colored shirt, and we know that the person who shot was the red colored shirt as opposed to the other colored shirt, and we know that the person in question who we think is the suspect was wearing a red colored shirt, all else equal, it's not the one thing that proves the case, but it raises our priors, correct? It raises the credence, correct?
It sort of raises the credence
It sort of does, or
as
it
it
definitely,
would.
definitely does.
I mean, what does it lower the probability by? Like there's still that's still very, very circumstantial evidence, is it not?
When you say it's very circumstantial, I don't know what you're asking.
So it's not really something that you would build a case off of, right?
It's one fact. It's part of the totality of circumstances.
Yeah, but his other clothes didn't even match the description, the
Can you
original
just deal
description,
with
which is
that by
why.
itself? So we were talking about the shoes, right? You're like, why would he
Yes,
talk about
yeah.
the same
So
colored shoes? Well, because it raises
yeah,
our
well, no, his
priors.
argument that was part of his argument, by the way. That was part of his argument, by the way, that he changed clothes but was wearing the same shoes. So he's already eliminated a part of the evidence and already raised raised the possibility that it wasn't him because he changed his clothes and then said, well, obviously it was him because he was wearing the same shoes. As if this was a significant point of this was a significant argument or a significant piece of evidence
It's a piece of
when it's
evidence.
not.
It's a piece of evidence that helps identify the person. It's not all
I
the
don't think it.
thing, but it does
I
improve
don't think
it,
it
doesn't it?
was.
Wait, doesn't it improve it? Yes or
No.
no? No. So you think a person who is matches
Oh my
part
God, not
way?
the famous piece for yes or no.
You think that a person who is part way matching the description as opposed to not at all matching the description, that doesn't raise your credence in the
Sure, it
person
raises your
being.
credence
Yes, yes, of course it does.
slightly.
Yes, that's all.
It
Yeah,
raises your credence
it's
slightly
part of the evidence.
as
Yeah.
yeah, it raises your credence slightly as it would like other if you're somebody's wearing a black shirt and you say so and so is wearing a black shirt, but what should lower your credence is the fact that the outfit was different, that the clothes were different, right?
Yeah, so like if the clothes are different, all else equal, it lowers our credence, right?
Right. So we're back. We had positive
But
credence
no, no,
and
but
negative credence, so we're back at zero, right?
right. But if there's now evidence that is put on that he changed clothes, maybe that'll raise the credence. It's all just totality of
Is there
circumstances, and you're viewing in isolation. It's not helping.
is there evidence that he changed clothes
I think there
besides
is.
the
Yeah,
observance? So did they find clothes on him?
yeah. I'm not sure if they found clothes on him when he turned himself in. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, is there any indication that he changed his outfit besides the like speculation surrounding it that he changed clothes? Because it there's only speculation, there's no actual solid evidence to indicate that.
What would it take for you to believe that he changed clothes?
Um they would have to positively identify him being not only the person in the stairwell, but the person who got out of the car.
That's what it would take for you to believe he changed clothes? Is some other shit that's not that, like, what? Okay, this is silly.
Well, I mean, positively identifying him as the person
How would they do
in
that
the
is the question.
stairwell is pretty low level evidence, is it not?
Fine.
That places him at the scene.
Ask your question again. Sorry.
So they would have to positively identify him as the person in the stairwell
Yeah,
in
how
the
would they do that?
original
This is the whole thing,
footage.
right? Like the whole thing is
Yeah,
how
right.
do you
That's what I'm
identify,
saying.
right? So the
That's what I'm
question,
saying. Well, no, because identifying him in the stairwell doesn't necessarily mean that he took the shot, right?
I didn't say it
He could be there.
necessarily meant that. The question is, does it raise your prior that he did it?
No, because they haven't proven it, right?
No, if they did prove that he was the person or likely to be the person, does it raise your
Well,
prior?
yes, if they proved it, if they proved that, then yes. But they
Okay, so
haven't,
we're
that's the problem.
the way this is a kind of meta point about Candace. The way Candace argues is very similar to the way that you do, which is like looking when we're trying to examine what the facts of the matter of a situation are, looking in isolation and asking whether it's possible something else occurred. And the truth is, yes, it is possible something else occurred, right? It's possible, but that doesn't mean that it's likely that something else occurred, and that doesn't
I
mean that.
think
Oh, yeah.
well, I was going to say I think honestly the autopsy report is the biggest point of weakness in the case.
Yeah, tell me about that. Why?
So the autopsy report, the official autopsy report indicates that he was essentially internally decapitated. I'm not a medical professional, so I can't say, but it said that his the cervical spine or let me just read it actually. Let me just bring it up because I don't want to get it wrong. And no, I'm not using AI. I'm going to actually look up the report for those who are probably typing that in chat.
No one typed that in the chat.
I'm just guessing. I'm sure they were about to.
Were you about to chat?
Charlie could. Let's see.
This is the most convincing thing for you, right? And just to be clear, you don't believe that it was a patsy, do you?
No, I don't necessarily believe it was a patsy. I just think that her argument has credence. That's really what I'm going.
The argument has credence.
Yes.
Okay, give us the
So
best.
I think that's something weird. I can't say patsy, but something weird happened during that. I'm looking for the official. Do I have to bring up the video so I can read it?
Just use
I guess I'll have
AI,
to do
I
that.
guess. You can do it. You have permission.
Oh, thank you.
And does it. Giga Chad. 3 a.m. chatters are scary, true.
No, I'll just bring up the YouTube video because people are just gonna sit here and be like,
What was the general
look at
point
my
made about the thing? Like, I don't get it. Like, the autopsy showed
that his entire spine was decimated.
Okay, and? Granted.
So yeah, so his entire spine was essentially decimated, and then there was an argument that was made his shortly after his death. Charlie Kirk Alley reveals absolute miracle that may have been save line stirred fatal shooting. This is something that was produced by Fox News. I'm gonna go ahead and link this to you.
Okay.
So you have a copy of it.
Thank you.
It says Turning Point USA spokesman Andrew Covert on Saturday said Charlie Kirk's surgeon called it an absolute miracle that the bullet that killed him didn't exit his body because dozens of people were standing behind him when he was shot. I don't even necessarily think that is true. That
Okay.
dozens of people were standing behind him. But I'm gonna bring up the actual autopsy report from the video because I want to read it as it's written. I don't want to get it wrong.
Okay, but like, who cares?
And I think this also gives. What do you mean? Who cares?
Who cares if it did whatever to his spine?
Because that would indicate that he was dead on the scene and he wouldn't have a surgeon.
So because
he was already dead, like dead people don't go to surgery, in case you're unaware of that. Mr. Kirk. Okay, it says the bullet, or at least part of it, sequentially perforated the anterior left side of Mr. Kirk's neck, strap muscles, and the left side of his neck, and the left common carotid and left internal external jugular veins. So literally his jugular was exploded. The bullet also obliterated the left side of the C2-7 vertebrae, transected the cervical spinal cord, so he was internally decapitated. The medical examiner observed that a significant portion of Mr. Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent, meaning that,
Yeah.
yeah, he would not be alive after that.
Wait,
Kirk
but
survived
how do you know how long it would take for him to die?
because if you're internally decapitated, you're instantly dead.
Okay, but then why is that inconsistent with them trying to like resuscitate him or trying to bring him back or trying to do the desperate operation?
Right, so that's another thing. That's a severe blunder on the part of his team because and that kind of shows
That's
negligence
consistent.
that would
Yeah, but that's
exonerate.
consistent with it being
That could
Tyler Robinson.
potentially
Why does this lower
yeah, right.
what does this have to do with
So
it
that
being
could
Tyler Robinson or not?
well, you understand that even if it was Tyler Robinson, that evidence alone and the fact that they were negligent in transporting him to the hospital without a C collar would be indicative could possibly exonerate him because you know, he could have possibly survived at the scene if they would have actually done the proper thing and waited for
How would that
the ambulance to
exonerate
arrive.
him? So because he
It
might have been
because
saved?
possibly. I mean, I would think based on the report that he would be dead at the scene, but again, I'm not a doctor, so I can't say for sure. But I would
You're
say
not a doctor? You
potentially
don't have an
that
MD?
um no, I don't have a master's degree, no. Yeah, and fuck you for using an M dash, by the way. You did that on purpose, didn't you?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. All right. I mean, that was the
Really?
strongest piece
Really?
of evidence. That
Really?
that was the strongest piece of evidence was he got internally decapitated. But like, why is that the strongest
No,
piece
no,
of
no.
evidence?
So the reason why I think that would exonerate Tyler Robinson, even if he did do it, or would give him a lesser crime, so he would be exonerated of the or not found guilty, not exonerated, but
Yeah, if
not found
Charlie Kirk
guilty
didn't
of the
die,
murder charge.
he would not be guilty of murder. But why would it exonerate him? He wouldn't be charged with
I'm
murder
using
if
the
Charlie
wrong.
Kirk survived. Yeah.
I would be. I think I'm using the wrong term here. I wouldn't say exonerated. I would say that he would probably face a lesser charge, like I don't know, assault with a deadly weapon
Or
or
attempted murder.
some or attempted murder, yeah. Because they improperly moved him, so since there was negligence on the part of his team, it would indicate that like there was a possibility that he could survive, in my opinion. So this is again in my opinion
Yeah,
because
but
I'm not
why
a
does
lawyer,
that
I'm not a
raise or lower
doctor.
the probability that he was a patsy, right? Like that is it seemed okay,
No, again that's not my argument that he was a patsy. I'm
so
saying
why
that
is it
Candace
strong?
Owens, why is it strong
Evidence that it was the
that
strongest evidence.
it's the strongest evidence because he wouldn't have because he number one, the report indicates that he was possibly dead on the scene, so he wouldn't have a surgeon when he got to the hospital to report that his spine was so strong that it stopped the bullet when there's a report that indicates the complete opposite, that his spine was obliterated.
So you don't think
Right?
that there was listen, I don't know if there was surgery performed, but isn't this a medical examiner looking at stuff?
So the report I sent it to you, the report that
I didn't see it.
the medical examiner
You didn't send
produced the
shit
report.
on Discord?
Did I send it in the wrong chat? Oh yeah, hold on. I sent it in the wrong chat. There we go. Um, I did not send shit. You're correct. So it
Yeah.
says that Turning Point USA spokesman Andrew Colvett, I will just read it again, on Saturday said that Charlie Kirk's surgeon called it an absolute miracle that the bullet that killed him didn't exit his body, which is weird. Like, that's another thing. Like, either his autopsy was done by a surgeon, which I can't really say if a surgeon does an autopsy. I don't know.
Hang on a second.
But I would find it odd if a surgeon did do an autopsy. And again, I don't know if they do, and I'm not going to make any affirmative statement as to whether or not that's true. I want to address some of the discussion of the lack of exit wound with Charlie. I'm not usually interested in delving into most of this kind of online chatter, and I apologize, this is somewhat graphic, but in this case, the fact that there was an exit wound is probably another miracle. And I want to show people that Colvey, the executive producer of Charlie Kirk show, wrote in a lengthy post on X. So he was saying that there was no exit wound, but it seems that, like, according to the medical report, there possibly was, because his cervical spine was missing, is what they said. And there's only one way that it would be missing, and that's if it exited his body, right?
So you're saying that it's implausible that he would have survived long enough to have surgery.
Yeah, that's one thing
And what are you basing this off
that's
of?
the fact that he was internally decapitated, but also in the same vein, if he
Wait,
was able to survive
are
it,
you
and
an wait? So are you? Has there been expert evidence to suggest that no one could survive long enough to get to the hospital and have emergency surgery? What's the
if
evidence that
his
you're
jugular
relying on?
vein, well, that again, that proves negligence on the part
Whether it
of
does or
his
doesn't,
team
what's the
because they
medical evidence that you have at your disposal to suggest that there would not be emergency surgery performed in such a circumstance because of the timeline?
a significant portion of Mr. Kirk's
Reuters,
cervical
citing a
spinal cord.
university spokesperson, stated he underwent surgery.
Right, and I don't believe that. That's why I'm saying that there's holes
Why
in the
though?
story that should
Why is that a hole?
well, what would he have surgery on? Like, they can't replace his cervical spine.
Yeah, they maybe don't know the full extent of the injury until they're doing the surgery. Maybe they thought that there was some crazy thing they could try to do. I'm not a doctor. You're not a doctor either. So what's the evidence you have that
Right,
that's
but
implausible?
it says missing, not injured, right?
Huh? What says missing? The bullet?
Missing. A significant portion of Mr. Kirk's cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent.
I don't understand if that's responsive. I'm saying, what is the basis to believe that the kind of wound that Kirk suffered wouldn't allow surgery to be performed or make it implausible?
Um, I would say that because he was already dead, and you
Yeah,
don't
but
really do surgery on dead people.
well, maybe they were trying to do like last minute emergency surgery. And how do you know he was dead at the time that the bullet hit at the scene? Maybe he
Again, I'll
wasn't.
read it again. His cervical spinal cord was traumatically absent.
Yeah, that doesn't say that he died on the scene. He was pronounced dead at the hospital, I believe.
So the cervical spinal cord is the top part of your spinal cord. It sits inside your neck and has 7 neck bones plus 8 nerves. It sends signals between your brain, your face, neck, arms, and chest. Um, yeah, I would assume that he was pretty decapitated.
You would assume he was pretty decapitated. But why is that
Yeah.
inconsistent with him surviving long enough to make it to surgery before dying?
I would wonder why they would, well, with any neck injury, I would wonder why they would move him without a C spine or
Okay,
I'm
you
sorry,
may wonder that, but what's the
C
evidence
collar.
that it's implausible that he would have survived long enough for surgery to happen and they would have thought it was so futile that they don't even attempt it? Yeah, they tried to
Um,
save
I
JFK
mean, we
and
don't
he
have
he had a big hole in his
right.
fucking head.
No, neck, not head.
JFK?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, head. I'm sorry. I misheard you. I was reading this.
Yeah, I don't think that you have.
High mort.
I think it's fine to say that like you don't have evidence that
Yeah,
it's
I don't have
implausible he
no.
would have
I don't
survived.
necessarily have evidence, and I think that I would have evidence if they actually contacted medical professionals in this case, and not shoved him in a vehicle and drove to the hospital.
What the fuck were they supposed to do?
Wait for the EMTs like most normal people would do, the people who actually are trained and paid to perform medical assistance.
So, like,
Do
you're holding it against them
again,
that they instantly went and tried to get him to the hospital as fast as possible?
yes,
Okay.
as because his team,
Didn't
I
you just
assume
say that
his
he would have
team,
died on the scene anyway, no matter what?
it's right. I would assume yes, but again, I've stated this a couple of times. I'm not a doctor. I can't say for sure, but the fact that his cervical spinal cord was missing or absent would, to me, indicate that. But again, being that his team would have had some like elementary training or some like training on this, they would know to not move somebody with a neck injury. That's kind of like 101,
Yeah, I'm not.
medical assistance
Yeah,
101.
maybe they don't know that if it's assuming it's medical 101. I just don't know. Like, so why does
Well,
that
they
do
were
anything? Well, how does that prove or like lower the inference that like Patsy stuff or not Tyler Robinson?
I would say because I mean, I keep making the argument that that's not necessarily
Yeah.
my
So
argument,
what
but
are you trying to
the
say?
the so the circumstances around his death and the fact that it seemed unusual would kind of indicate that there could be other lies associated, right?
Mm. So like the team's in
So
on it
if
or
there
something.
no, I don't think that the team is in on it. I think that the fact that the surgeon could have potentially lied because you don't perform there's
I could
no
have you just mean that
medical
like
there's no
it's possible he
right,
could
but
have.
you would think so like when he got to the hospital there would have been triage. Why wouldn't they present the triage report?
Who? Why
Like
would
it's the
they meaning
surgeon
TPUSA or the surgeon?
well you wouldn't have a surgeon until you go through triage, right?
Are you a doctor? I thought you said you don't have any medical experience. I don't fucking know.
You don't know that when you go to the hospital, like, you go through triage first? You don't immediately go to a surgeon?
I have no
You
fucking
your
clue.
vitals have to be taken. I mean, maybe I'm being ignorant of the situation, but I would
I'm not a
assume that
doctor, and I don't know
you
what
would
the fuck this
immediately
has to do
have
with like with who shot the gun.
No, it doesn't have anything to do with who shot the gun. What it indicates is that there is circumstances surrounding the case that are highly suspicious and
So that's highly
highly
suspicious.
irregular. Yes. It is suspicious to me that somebody from Turning Point USA would make a comment about a surgeon who was not named, saying that his neck was so strong it stopped the bullet when the autopsy indicates otherwise.
Do
The
you believe
official
that Tyler
autopsy report.
Robinson shot Charlie Kirk?
I do think that, yes. I do think that, but again, the evidence does not necessarily indicate that, which is why I'm saying that Candace Owens has her argument has credence, right? That's what my
I don't
argument is,
agree
and that's
that her statements of truth are backed up. I mean, she's basically pointing out like, what about this? What about that? And like asking questions, but like not providing a justification for her
oh,
claim of
how about
it
I
being
turn
a
it back on
patsy.
you and ask you why you think that Andrew Wilson had a more compelling argument?
Listen, I think he did really bad, but he at least pointed to things that should compel people. For example, things that should compel people: confessions, multiple confessions. All right, and I believe I credit Lance Swiggs. I don't have any reason to doubt him, and I credit the tech forensic people who looked at the phone and determined that it was Tyler Robinson who messaged Lance. I think that makes sense. That there's no other evidence that anyone else had the phone, and so I assume, based on the fact that no other evidence of the contrary has occurred, that it was, in general, when you send messages from your device, it's you, right? It raises the credence, in other words. That's pretty compelling. Then the fact that the gun is connected to him in any respect, that's pretty compelling, right? Of all the guns, it's a gun that's connected to him. That raises, your prior there. And then in terms of like, I don't know if Andrew specifically cited. Let me just think of other things that Andrew was talking about. The fact that the parents refused to speak out. If they truly were involved here in this process, and there are assertions on the record that he also told the parents, right? And then he was talking to the parents, and the kind of statements like, "Oh, I want to kill myself," or all that stuff. Those are the kinds of statements that someone who's guilty would state, and the kinds of statements that a parent who knows them to be lies would repudiate. Right? These are all things that are obvious and should be obvious to human beings. Now, did Andrew do the best job of laying them all out? Should Andrew have prepared more, right? Prepared more than I know right now about like all the evidence on offer? Absolutely, yes. He was walking into a debate where he should have had way more instant recall of facts and not be like sort of squirrely like he was. That said, Candace had fucking nothing. Literally nothing. There was no reasonable inference that she could offer that increased the tendency or the likelihood of her claim. That's why Andrew wins on substance. But again, he did a really bad job.
I think that the presentation of his evidence was just as circumstantial because
What does
what
that
I find
mean?
really
Just as circumstantial.
interesting.
What does that mean? Just as
So
circumstantial. That's the
what I
second time you
find
said
very
that.
interesting.
The second time you said that. What do you mean when you say
Well,
just
I'm
as
about to
circumstantial?
answer.
No, you need to just say
I would love
just
to
as
answer.
circumstantial is this.
I would love to answer if you let me talk. Thank you. Um, so what's really interesting is the fact that they
What
purported
does
that
just as
Lance,
circumstantial mean?
because they're equally circumstantial, right?
What does it mean to be equally circumstantial? You're saying that they're equal
The
likelihood?
evidence was not neither evidence was indicative of guilt. How about that?
That's crazy you say that. You don't think confessions are
Okay,
indicative of
well,
guilt?
no, again, and I'm going to state this. The the confessions were not tied directly to Robinson.
The hell they weren't.
And what do you mean the hell they
His
weren't?
phone, his statements as attested to by Lance Twiggs, his parents not speaking out. They're
His
tied to
parents not
him.
speaking out about what?
About what if but the claims made in the indictment regarding him having confessed to them. It's tied, the
Right,
confessions are
so
tied to him.
which is kind of suspicious considering that the reason he left home in the first place was because he fundamentally disagreed with his parents. So you would think that if he did something wrong, his parents would have some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? They would have some kind of malice towards him and would want to get him would want to
Why
report
would you
him.
think that?
So again, I'm gonna say this because you're not letting me finish. But what's interesting about Lance is that they purported that I'm gonna use her proper pronouns, that she was trans, but during the court hearing, and you yourself are referring to her as he. So if she was trans, and that was a major point of contention that was brought up by the Trump administration politically, why all of a sudden, unless she detransitioned, which is always a possibility, but that talking point kind of dropped as soon as the evidentiary hearing. By the way, according to some sources, she changed her name to Luna. I don't know if officially she did that, but she preferred to be referred to as Luna. So again, that's evidence that was either untrue or yeah, it was evidence that's untrue that was never addressed again.
Whether she's trans, they're trans.
She said that was that not a major point brought up by
People
news
were saying that
media?
Lance was a furry, and I think that
No,
there was evidence that like they went by a different name, like a female name.
yes, Luna,
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Like, is there an
because
inconsistency?
yes, they purported her to be a trans furry.
Okay, so then what's the inconsistency?
During the trial, they referred to her as him, despite her being trans.
Yeah, that could be explained by them just being like not very woke on pronouns, right?
You would think that during the court hearing in which they were trying, or I'm sorry, it's not a court hearing, that the evidentiary
It is a
hearing.
court hearing. It's a hearing in a court.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it is a court hearing. That the court hearing, they would refer to her as her correct pronouns or bring that up as a point at all, or like it was never brought up again, as far as I know.
Maybe because it's like that they don't feel the need to use preferred pronouns, or maybe because there's it's not something that they need for the purposes of determining probable cause. It's just like a
No, it's
background
not.
fact.
It's right. It's not necessarily like a major indicator of guilt, but it's something else that could be substantive to indicate that the case
Okay.
is not being litigated
I'm just getting more
in
triggered, so
the
we should
way
move
it was
off.
first.
We should move off of this. I can't believe this is your real opinion.
What? You're getting triggered about what?
Everything you're saying.
About what?
Like, this is
The
compelling to you at all.
case?
oh, they didn't use her pronouns appropriately, and
Right.
therefore
So
they lied about her being trans, even though I'm going to use her preferred pronouns, so I believe she's trans. Like, what the hell?
it being that you would have some experience in court, would you say that I'm incorrect about this?
About what? I don't even know what you're asking.
Would they use the pronouns of somebody who was trans, the proper pronouns?
I'm not sure. I'm sure people would
You
do differently.
you've
I've
never
never had a
experienced this in
case with a trans person. I'll just put it out there. So I don't know the usual decorum in a Utah state court about pronoun usage. I don't know that.
Okay. I'm just so the reason I brought this up wasn't because it changes anything about the case, but it's another anomaly that may or may not indicate that there's a reason to believe that the case is, another piece of evidence to
It's an
suspect.
anomaly. Why
Yeah,
is it an anomaly?
it's an anomaly because it's something that was stated officially during the initial hype around it and then was never talked about again. Right? Or it's not that it wasn't talked about again, but then the evidence would suggest otherwise or whatever. So like it's all of the little pieces of evidence adding up together that would kind of give Candace's argument some credence. And to be clear, and I'm going to say this again,
Yep.
so I'm not clipped out of context, I do believe that Tyler Robinson would have shot Charlie Kirk. I don't carte blanche believe that he couldn't have done it, right? Because he definitely could have done it. But I'm saying that Candace Owens also has a point in saying that maybe the evidence isn't there to necessarily indicate that he 100% did it. Can you agree that maybe that could be the case?
By could be the case, you mean it's logically possible?
Yes.
I think it's logically possible, whatever you just said.
You think okay. So then why are you calling me crazy?
Because just because something is logically possible doesn't mean that there's any reason to believe it. Good reason.
What?
It's logically
No,
possible
if
that I
something
like
is
jump
if
to the moon right now.
no, it's not logically possible that you jump to the moon. No, that is not a logical thing to think.
I just what it
That
means
is
for it
not
to be
that is
logical
not
impossible.
logic. No,
Logical
that is
possible just
logically
mean
impossible.
doesn't contain a contradiction.
It is not logically possible for you to defy gravity. That is not a logical thing that
It's
somebody with a
it
working
so
with
there's
a
a
working cerebellum would believe. With a like I'm sorry, like that's crazy. That's a crazy statement.
so
Like if you think that that's logical, I would question your credibility altogether.
so I'd agree jumping to the moon violates the laws of physics. It's contradictory with the laws of physics, but it doesn't contain within it a lot like a inherent contradiction.
It does. It does because number 1, you can't jump that high physically. Number 2, you're defying the laws of physics. Number 3, if you jump to the moon, you would instantly die because there's no oxygen in space. So again, I don't want to get caught again with a pedantic argument, but I will
Yeah.
be pedantic if that's I will be pedantic if that's going to be if that's going to be the hill you die on or the moon you die on, I
All I'm
guess,
saying is
in this case.
claiming that asserting that something is possible is like not a good reason to believe it, right? It's possible that Trump himself killed him, right?
No.
What's what's the
I don't think that at all because
what's the
he was
contradiction?
busy having a stroke. He was busy having a stroke.
So it's impossible that it was Trump.
Yeah, I would say that it's impossible that it was Trump because he can't jump from a roof without dying.
What if the real Trump that you've been seeing has been a decoy the whole time? Is that possible?
A decoy of what?
Is it possible that Trump has been getting an experimental super serum and they have it like this old guy pretend to be Trump, and meanwhile he's been training and becoming an
But
assassin? Is
who's
that
getting
possible?
who is getting the super serum?
Trump, the real Trump.
Why? Okay, so then why would Trump is getting the super serum? So there's an old guy. Okay, no, I don't. No, this is stupid.
What's impossible?
This is stupid. Why are we talking about this now?
because
I am not going to be made out to be a fool,
it's just demonstrative of the fact that
sir.
like just saying something's possible doesn't really give you a good reason to believe it.
Nothing you said so far has been possible.
What's the
That's
contradiction?
why super serums don't exist.
How do you know? What if they just hide in the super serum?
Who is hiding the super serum?
The government.
Wow, you sound like Candace Owens. What if the what if Tyler Robinson was given the super serum? Oh my god,
Yeah.
and he turned into two different people and then like fucking Naruto fucking copied himself into 1,000 copies and then each one of them fuck I don't know, like what are we talking about right now? What's going
I don't
on?
know. Can we move off of this? Because I'm getting more and more triggered. I feel like it'll be better if we just change topics for just a little bit.
What do you want to Okay, so what do you mean change
You
topic?
said you
What do you
wanted
want
to
to talk
talk to
about?
me about after our last conversation.
Oh, right. So I wanted to talk to you about your fucking insane ass chat. Like what is going on? Like why do you have these people in your community?
Oh, are we doing the community thing where you're like ban people who are mean to me?
It's not that they're being mean to me. It's the fact that they're actually just like making shit up about me that isn't true. Being mean is one thing. Completely fabricating things to say in chat is just like completely is a completely different thing.
Was it a joke or was there like a fake assertion that was like serious?
No, there's been a couple of fake assertions, but what I generally want to do is I want these people to actually confront me, um, in VC or on stream because I figure like if you're gonna say things about me, you might as well say it to my face and not be a keyboard warrior. So I'm trying to call people out for that.
Oh yeah, we were gonna like go through people that were to be called out, right?
Yeah, it's like 3 a.m. Is it 3 a.m.? Yes, it's 3:36 a.m.
You had a few chatters in
EST.
mind, right?
Yeah, are any of them? Hold on, let me see if any of them are in chat right now.
Wasn't Direful
Because
Pot one of them?
yes, yes, Direful, yeah, was one of them.
Direful Pot, are you in there?
I'm looking at chat right now.
I thought I saw Direful Pot before.
Direful, show your face, get on stream, argue with me.
What did they say?
They just say all sorts of bullshit to me. Call me they call me like all sorts of things, and they just say like I'm like I don't know. I just feel like that people who say these sorts of things should just confront me directly. Oh, Benji.
Who's Benji? Benji 7085?
Yeah, Benji is one of the people who went through and gathered all of my information to give to Snarker so that they could cover me
Oh,
24/7.
okay. But like, let's not do drama stuff. I don't want drama. I meant like on the substance.
Yeah, Benji is one of those people that's do you understand that the drama was okay. Yeah, there's Direful.
What did Direful say?
Oh, Direful is awful in chat. So Direful, why don't you hop in? Why don't you I can add you to the call. No proof of this, by the way, to Benji. And then that's fine. I just have like a hundred
Okay,
screenshots of
I
you
don't
doing
want to
that,
do
but
drama shit, but like about you specifically, what have like about your claims or about in my chat?
because they sit there and chat and just talk shit to me constantly and won't actually hop on stream and debate me.
On what?
I confront me to my face, prove
About
that I'm
what?
the idiot that you say I am.
Oh,
Are you defending your community just being total assholes?
no, they suck.
Then why do you have them in your community? That's like a reflection of you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Like if you're fostering a community that is just like toxic towards people, like what if somebody wants to join your community, right? They're a viewer and they want to become a member of the I don't know, piss force. I'm not sure what
He
you
scored
call them.
the Peace Corps, or Pisco Nation. You know,
Okay,
Piscojitos.
okay. Okay, that's right. If people are being awful to people in chat, why would they want to join your Discord or be a part of your community? That kind of inhibits your ability to grow as a creator, does it not?
Maybe, yeah. You guys, can you just be like less snarky, maybe?
Yeah, the thing is when you say that, you sound very non-committal, right? You sound very non-committal about it and very like a little bit sarcastic or a little bit sardonic if I'm being honest.
Well, drama's banned in the chat, so we don't want drama.
Oh, drama's banned in the chat, so people repeating the rhetoric that is in the drama community is not allowed, right?
Repeating the rhetoric or repeating the claims?
Repeating the rhetoric surrounding the drama. So they're basically saying back to me the claims and drama that people have, made
Hmm.
about me.
Hey guys,
What did somebody say the other day?
please don't do that. And I'm being serious. Let's focus on the arguments, okay? Let's focus on Alish's arguments.
Uh, Let me read the chat to see what they're saying.
Yeah, let's take a look here.
What did they do, Alice? Explain why people should care. Direful, you're getting called into this bullshit because you're one of the people who just sit and chat all day and call me illiterate, right? Like, obviously I'm not illiterate if I'm reading your message.
That is
So
true.
you just say,
But I think that that's like a reference to like the comma splice thing. Remember that?
yeah, you know that Angelica Schuyler cares about comma splices as well. So you should care
Angelica
about comma splices.
Schuyler. What do you? Yeah, but it
Yeah,
wasn't a
the
comma splice.
the well, it wasn't a comma splice, but she cares about commas. My dearest Angelica. Mm-hmm.
That I don't know why that maps onto the El Sayed comma thing.
It doesn't. I'm just making a comment about how you should care about commas because
I care a lot about commas. I used to edit people's papers in school. You'd like have to edit someone else's papers, and I would always do all the commas correctly and fix people's commas. I was actually
you would
known
always
for
do all the commas correct. Okay.
yes, yeah. People would come to me and be like, "Hey, can you check for my commas?" Like I was known as the guy who would do the commas.
What?
I'm not joking.
Wow. Wow.
I have a very dear
By the
friend
way,
who
I
she
want to put on I
yeah.
want to in sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
No, we can
I'm
skip the anecdote.
I'm uh I'm being obnoxious. Go ahead,
No,
finish. It's your stream.
I just had a very dear friend who she would always come to me and like ask me to like check if the commas were right in her paper, and so I gained a little reputation about commas.
I think she was hitting on you and you just didn't notice.
Maybe we went to prom together.
Holy shit, you fumbled the bag, bro. You fumbled that one. You really think somebody would come to you and ask you about commas and not like,
Okay, all right, let's move on. All right.
wow, bro, by the way, I just want to put on the record that Pisco used an M dash in the last tweet he sent me.
Can we get to an issue? What do you think about the what we talked about last time? It felt like these were all like very superficial El Sayed things.
Okay, so of course you want to go back to this. Um, so I think that his statements were very vague, and the vagueness of his statements kind of indicated that he doesn't have a very well thought out plan. I'm not going to talk about the commas again, by the way, but it says to me that like he's not he's using a very like what's the word I'm looking for? He's using a very uh wow, like losing my thoughts, which makes sense because it's 3 a.m. Um, he's using like a template for somebody who is running for office. It's like he typed into ChatGPT, not saying he did this, but it's like he typed into ChatGPT, how do I write a DSA platform? How do I write a campaign promise based on the DSA platform? And it just spit something out at him. And then he made that his campaign promise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't really get that sense
You don't get that sense?
that he
Okay.
like followed a vague platform structure on ChatGPT. I don't get it.
Wait, who the fuck is saying that this is what I'm talking about.
What?
Why is Owlish so triggered by chat when she has her own orbiters? Who the fuck is an
You have
orbiter of me?
orbiters?
That's what I'm saying. They're just making shit up. I don't have orbiters. What the fuck? I don't even think I have a fucking solar system. I don't even think I'm a planet unless you're talking about my weight.
No.
Not you, I meant. Like, that was a joke.
Oh. Well, it's are you gonna vote for El Sayed if you, or would you if you were in Michigan?
No. Okay, that's another thing. Okay, I remembered one of the other points I wanted to bring up. Do you understand that a Republican is not the same thing, is not necessarily the same thing as MAGA?
Yes.
Right, so voting for a moderate Republican instead of a DSA member would be idyllic, especially in an area that is already pretty conservative.
Not
And I
necessarily, but I don't
would
agree
it
with that.
be
And also,
you
Rogers
don't
is
think
like
that
he's MAGA. Come on.
yeah, and I'm not saying that MAGA is not prominent because Trump is endorsing all of his MAGA politicians because he's trying to put them in the right spot. But if a moderate Republican ran against a DSA member, you would vote for the moderate Republican, right?
No,
Why?
no, because in the, at
Why?
least in the foreseeable future, I think a moderate Republican would be more harmful to harm reduction than a DSA person,
Why?
in virtue of what they're likely to vote on.
What would they vote on that you think would be bad? A moderate Republican, by the way, not MAGA, so they're
Yeah.
not.
And by the way, there's essentially none of these people in Congress.
If I'm not
I
right,
know. I just want to
this is
make it
a
clear. There's
hypothetical.
essentially
This is a
none of this.
hypothetical.
I know. I just want to make that clear. So I'll give you some examples. Ready?
Yeah.
They would vote against any of the filibuster. Correct.
Yes.
They would vote against court expansion for Democrats. Correct.
For Democrats, yes, probably.
They would vote against probably enforcing the insurrection uh, component of Section 3 of the 14th Amendment and to try to undo Trump situations and disqualify a
No.
bunch of Trump people. I think they would. Or at
No,
least
I don't
they're
think
less
that they would
likely.
at all.
They're less likely than a DSA member, right? To
You
vote in
mean more
favor.
likely? More likely to vote in favor? No, I don't think that they're more likely to vote in favor
No,
of
they're
supporting
less likely
Trump
to
if
vote
they're a
in favor,
moderate.
right? Of what I just proposed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Less likely to
But
vote to.
I don't think that they would
Okay, but
because
less likely. That's all it
they're a
takes.
moderate.
Percentages.
I would an
Percentages.
anti-MAGA, an anti-MAGA Republican. I don't think would do anything to affirm Trump's position.
Okay. I'm not saying that they would, but they wouldn't vote in favor of ending the filibuster. They wouldn't vote for court expansion. They wouldn't vote for, or they'd be less likely to vote for expansion of the Section 3 enforcement. They would be less likely to vote in favor of expansion of Obamacare, right? Less likely to vote in favor of, public option. Less likely to vote.
No, I don't think Obamacare. I think that Obamacare wasn't really even
Less likely, right?
popular among the well, Obamacare wasn't even really popular among the Democrats, as far as I know, because it was a Band-Aid.
All right, let's keep going. Less likely to vote on progressive nominees in the executive branch and court appointments, right?
I don't know why that would. What is a
Just
what is a
easy. These are we're going
progressive?
down the line.
Can you define a progressive nominee?
Yeah, a executive branch official or a judicial official who has a more progressive track record, by which we mean more left wing, either socially or economically.
I I mean not really. You can't really say for sure because
All else equal.
they're not obligated to
I'm not saying they're
vote
obligated. I'm
along.
asking whether they're likely to do. They're less likely to vote in favor. They're not. left wing, right? They're moderate Republicans, so they're less likely to vote for progressive nominees. Correct?
They're less likely. I wouldn't say that they wouldn't do that though.
Yeah, they're less likely, right? And we're just going off percentages. I'll keep going.
Yeah,
Less likely to
that's
vote
fine, but
for a
right,
Democratic
they're less
president's
likely, but
agenda.
I don't think that a DSA member would vote for this
Really?
either.
We have
No, because
we
a
have a
DSA
track
member
record of
would
that.
want to embolden. No, they wouldn't vote Democrat. They wouldn't want to. They wouldn't want to embolden their. They would want
Have
to
you heard
embolden
of a
their own
DSA member
party.
ever voting down like a Democratic nominee? Right? Those are, you know who did that in the previous administration?
Yeah, it's Republicans.
No, it was Joe Manchin and it was Kristen Sinema. They scuttled some nominees.
I mean
You want to know?
that's
So less likely.
fine, but literally Hassan Piker, who's a prominent DSA member,
Yo,
didn't
not
endorse
every combo
Kamala.
needs to be about this guy.
Okay, let's be so for real. People make everything about Destiny, so why can't we make everything about Hassan?
I don't think people should make everything about destiny.
I don't think so either, but I mean, this is a perfect example. I mean, you're dismissing my example because you don't like it, not because it's about somebody.
Hassan, like, what are you saying? So because Hassan didn't vote for Kamala, then what? Moderate Republicans probably didn't vote for Kamala either.
No, they didn't, but you understand that they're
But
less
also, I
likely
think
to
Hassan voted for
endorse.
Kamala too. Just heads up, according to him at least.
Did it? I mean, he didn't endorse her.
Yeah.
So why tell your audience that you don't endorse somebody and then vote for them?
I don't know.
Wouldn't
It's
that indicate
stupid.
to your audience?
It was dumb.
Wouldn't
It
that
was
indicate?
evil. It was bad. What do you want me to say?
I want you to. I don't know. I think I want you to say you don't like Hassan Piker.
You're trolling me, right?
Do you like him? Like as a person, I don't mean like.
You're
Do you
trolling.
think
You're
he
doing the
provides?
thing. You're doing the
Do,
thing.
what thing?
You're
Do you
you're
think he
doing the
provides meaning?
cliche.
Do you think he provides meaningful commentary or a positive outlook to the Democratic Party?
Usually no.
What do you mean usually no?
I don't know. Do you not understand those words?
No, I'm asking for your specific definition of usually no. So in
Most of
what
the
case would
time.
you? That means yes sometimes. So
Yeah, I've heard him
where is the
sometimes
yes?
say that Democrats are preferable to Republicans. For example, in the conversation with Adam Mockler.
That's that's so such a milquetoast taste, and you won't actually deny that you just wow. So you like him in some aspects is what you're saying.
So there
You
was
don't
one.
object to him.
No, I didn't say that. I object to Hassan. But there was one moment where they were reviewing. What were they reviewing? It was like, it might have been the Andrew Wilson like sniz thing, where, or maybe he was on with one of the Cumtown guys. I forget who. Where I thought it was like funny. They were bantering and shit. But in general, I don't agree with his takes, and I think that he has a negative outlook on the Democratic Party. But
So
this
you
is
think
like
that he
so
should be
cringe that we like. What is every
it's not
conversation needs to be about
cringe.
this? Yeah,
Well, I find it a little bit concerning that you still are sweeping that you think that Hassan should have a
how am I
place in
sweeping?
this community.
What do you mean by
You
that?
think do you think that do you think that he should be in any respects representative of the Democratic Party
By
in
which you
any
mean
way
what? By what do you mean by representative Democratic Party?
Okay, you're doing that. You're doing
Yeah,
the
yeah,
thing
because you want to
now
keep it
where you
vague.
think
Because
representative.
you want to keep it vague and be
No,
like, yeah,
representative of the. Did you think that he should be telling his audience prescriptive things about the Democratic Party?
telling his audience prescriptive things about Democratic Party.
Yes, prescriptive things such as vote for this person. I'm going to this event to speak. Do you think he should be going to events to
Depends
speak?
on what he's saying.
Oh my God.
You
Yeah.
don't
Okay. This is what I
wait.
thought.
Wait, do you
Why aren't you
would you
okay?
not agree?
Why are you being so why are you being so
What's
cagey about
cagey? I'm
this?
answering all your questions.
You're not answering the questions in a way that is
That
committal. I want you to make
it
committal
is
answers.
committal. Yeah, it is a committal answer.
Committal?
Yeah,
Committal?
I misspoke. You said an MD in dancing.
Okay. Yeah. Straw man.
You said I could just get an MD in dancing.
Yeah, well, you can, but
Oh, really?
you can. Well, PhD, a PhD. No, not an MD, a PhD.
So you misspoke there too, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I misspoke, but right, we're not talking about me misspeaking. I know you're trying to pivot here, but it's astounding to me that you are not answering my question of whether or not he should be representative of the Democratic Party in any capacity.
By which you
Yes or
mean
no?
giving prescriptions?
Yes or no? Yes or no?
You mean,
Don't ask me any more questions.
You mean giving
Make a committal
prescriptions?
answer.
Only if I know what you mean.
You're pretending like to not know what I mean.
You said giving prescription
like
to his
I mean.
audiences. Right. So I asked, what do you mean by representative of the Democratic Party? You said giving prescriptions to his audience regarding the Democratic Party.
It's a simple question,
and I said,
Pisco.
well, it will depend on what the prescription is. Doesn't that make all the sense in the world?
Who to vote for?
Yeah, it would, if he gave the prescription to vote for Kamala, he should make that declaration, correct?
He didn't.
If he did. But I did have breakfast. What's wrong with you? If he did.
But I understand if he did, but he didn't. Do you think that he should be giving speeches?
Depends on what he says.
Events.
Oh, where? Which events?
DSA events. Do you think if he went to a DSA event, he should be giving speeches and he should be representing himself as a member of the Democratic Party?
Representing himself as a member of the Democratic Party? I don't like that, but I can't control it.
Yeah, this is insane, Pisco. Like, I'm actually astounded that you can't like carte blanche, like just deny that he should be representative of the Democratic Party. This is why people say you sweep.
By what you by
like
by
you
which you
understand
mean
that, right?
By which you mean give prescriptions like who to vote for, but that's going to depend on what the prescription is.
This is why people say you sweep, bro. If you want people to stop, want people to stop saying
that's crazy.
If you want people to stop saying that, you should probably say things like, "No, I don't think
identify the statement that is sweeping." What's the sweepy statement?
The fact that you will make the fact that you're giving non-committal answers and you're being very cagey and trying to divert the topic and using straw mans and asking me 1,000 questions that you definitely
what do you mean by that? And you're like giving prescriptions.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it depends on the prescription. No, I don't. I don't know what you mean by that, by represent the Democratic Party. Do you mean be elected to Democratic office? Do you mean be part of the DNC? Do you mean be given a seat at the table for policy discussions? What do you mean?
Yes, all of those things. Do you think
yes, some yes, some no.
Commentary?
Some yes. Making political commentary at all?
Some yes. The some yes is sweeping.
Should he be allowed should he be allowed to buy pizza?
Yeah.
You're fucking sweeping. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, that's not the same thing at all, but nice try.
Oh, yeah. Well, why would you want him to get pizza? Don't you know that's just going to feed him so he can destroy the party from within?
He shouldn't be. So my entire thing is he shouldn't be representative of the party.
And you want to let him, like, eat to fuel his conquest?
What? He can make generalized political commentary. I'm saying that he shouldn't make.
Wait, you want to let him make things? You want to let him
about
So you agree with his commentary? Then you're sweeping. You think he should be allowed to make commentary?
This is a straw man. This is what we call a straw man.
I just don't know why you're sweeping.
Chat. This is what we call a straw man chat. Because he won't answer the question. He simply will not answer the question, and he won't say that Hassan Piker should not have a place in the Democratic Party.
And you won't say that Hassan Piker shouldn't be able to speak out. You think it's okay for him to speak out on issues?
He should not be speaking out on issues as a representative of the Democratic Party.
By which you mean what?
If he wants to represent himself as an independent thinker and not a member of the Democratic Party,
does he identify as a Democrat? Does he identify as a Democrat?
He does, doesn't he? Should he? Do
you know if he does?
He's dangerous. Well, I mean, am I wrong? Do you know?
I thought that he didn't identify as a Democrat.
What does he identify as?
Not as a Democrat, I don't think.
What does he identify as? Because he tries to represent. He went to the Young Democrats convention.
Yeah. Republicans can show up to Democratic conventions.
That is insane.
Whoa, that's
no
insane.
Shot, bro.
What's insane?
No shot, bro.
What's insane? What's insane? Should he be banned?
represents
Should he
himself
be banned
as
on
a
Twitch?
man.
Should he be banned on Twitch?
Yes.
Okay. Should he be banned on YouTube?
Well, if he's doxing people and making statements about like killing people, yeah, I think he should be banned.
Should he be allowed to give political commentary
Yes,
on
absolutely.
on
But I don't
Kick?
think he should represent.
Where
Kick
should he
is
be
probably
allowed?
is more lax. Kick is. Oh well, I don't think he should be banned for political commentary. I think he should be banned for his other weird comments.
Okay.
Like I think it's weird that he calls Destiny a sex pest every other day without
I
evidence.
don't want to
Like,
get into drama.
well, I know you don't want to get into drama, okay, but that's just an example of the type of thing that he says daily that I don't think should be allowed on Twitch, in my opinion. I could be wrong. But I just think it's insane that you're
Watch it,
like,
chat.
why are
Hey,
you being
hey,
so
chat.
cagey?
Watch it. No drama. I'm serious. Yes, no drama.
Oh God. Doobie's here, isn't he? Yeah.
Can we just say that we can move on to something non-Hassan? Is that possible?
Wow. Wow. You want to move on? Well, if I'm moving on, I'm moving on to going to sleep. It's 4 a.m.
Okay. Well, Owlish, this was a good follow-up conversation. I appreciated it. I thought it was a productive one. I don't know about you.
It was.
And I appreciate you willing to come on and chat it out.
Yeah, yeah. That's called having a spine for. Well, never mind. I was gonna make a really bad joke. Oh no, no, no! Don't make that joke. I give myself kudos for having a spine and actually confronting people instead of sitting in the chat like a stupid keyboard warrior and not wanting to confront me. So anytime somebody wants to, I can either host you on my platform that I now have. So yeah,
You have
I
a
do
YouTube
have a
account?
platform. I do.
Nice. What is it?
It's here. I'll type it because I have L's and I's. I have two eyes instead of an L and I. I just make it look like. I haven't uploaded anything yet, but I just did my first stream today.
Congrats.
Well, I'm also
How'd it
typing
go?
it. I mean, I was just testing things. It went well. I actually deleted the VOD because it was a test stream.
Nice.
So.
Well, I'll give you a follow, and looking forward to you
Wow,
being
thank you.
in the space, and yeah, let's talk again soon. All right.
Yep.
All right. See you later.
All right. Bye.
Good convo. A great convo.